Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Ultimate Tribute Band podcast. I am Roger, and looking forward to this one. We're having a return guest here who was part of another tribute from a previous episode. That is Joshua Jones from the not Fab. Well, yes, you're also in the Fab Four, Joshua. And then he was on for the Monkey Men episode doing the Monkeys tribute. And he's got some friends who are in other tributes, and they've all gotten together, and now they are doing a police tribute called the Police Academy. So Joshua and Jon and Christian, welcome to the show. Thanks for having being on, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yep.
You got it. So just so I'm clear, Joshua does Sting, and he's playing bass, and he's playing right-handed this time, which is your natural, correct?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. So he flips and he plays left-handed when he does Paul McCartney in any of the Paul McCartney stuff that he does as well. Christian Hernandez is doing Andy Summers, and so he's doing guitar, vocals, piano, and then John McCracken is playing Stuart Copeland. And before we even came on and we started recording, I was telling him how amazed I am at stuff that Stuart Copeland did and the Police in general. We were talking about the song Murder by Numbers specifically, and what an insane drum pattern that is, an intro, and it's an ass kicker of a kickoff song, man. I mean, it's unbelievable. So Jon, Christian, Joshua, thanks for being on. Let's jump right into this. Let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about how you guys all kind of met and got together. So Jon, give me your background, any bands you were in, current tributes you might be doing, and what else you have going on before you joined the Police tribute.
Yeah, I kind of got into tribute acts probably around 2016 or so. I joined Jumping Jack Flash, the Rolling Stones tribute, and I'm still a member of that band. And then just from there, branched out to a bunch of others, Beatles and The Who and Led Zeppelin, and basically had an identity crisis in my career and, played a whole bunch of different people. I met these guys both separately through different shows. Josh and I through a Beatles versus Stones show, where we both play in both Beatles and Stones. And then Christian and I met in our former Who bands, and, discovered that not only is he a great player, but does his homework and is actually tolerable to hang out with. And so I kind of tried to rope him into every project I'm in. And it just sort of fell into place eventually. And now we're kind of a package deal at this point.
Gotcha. Christian, what about you? What's kind of your background and your story?
My background, Southern California, born and raised. I went to college in Boston and graduated from Berklee College of Music in 3 years and then came back to California. Had one failed attempt at getting into the Beatles tribute world in 2011, where I auditioned to be a George Harrison. They tried me out for a Paul McCartney. That didn't work. I didn't meet Jon until we were both playing in the Who experience. I guess this was in 2021. So I'm kind of the rookie here. I'm kind of the newest to the tribute world. And he passed my name along. He said, Jumpin' Jack Flash, we could use this guy as a sub. They had me try out Beatles stuff again, so that way we could do Beatles versus Stones. And that's how I met Josh. Josh got me connected into the Beach Boys world. And through Jumping Jack Flash, I ended up getting a call from Wild Child. And now I'm playing with Wild Child, the Doors tribute. What are we missing? Oh, yeah, Jon is now playing with us in Wild Child, too. That's a lot of fun. And I think I've covered every band I'm in except I'm also in a Santana tribute. And that's a lot of fun.
Okay. And you're Carlos Santana.
And I'm Carlos. I might not look it, but in the costume, it's pretty convincing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Joshua, we'll get to you in a second. I did a kind of a quick history and I looked on the your police tribute site and looked at kind of the biography of you guys, all three of you. And you guys are all seriously talented and credentialed and quality musicians and players. So I'm really impressed with just the resume itself. You guys are all super young and you're all playing these, grandparents songs. And the Police might be the newest thing you might be doing, the most recent thing. I mean, Beatles, Beach Boys, The Who, the Doors and all that kind of stuff. I mean, Wild Child is one of those bands that's pretty seminal out there. It's one of the big ones in the tribute world. So excellent resume there. Joshua, we know a little bit about you. you were pretty quiet on the Monkey Man, so let's have you talk a little bit more on this one.
Sure.
Tell me the story. Give me your personal kind of background and how you joined the whole camp there, and then how you guys all came together. How did the police thing specifically start coming together?
Sure. So my background is actually in jazz. I grew up playing jazz drums all my life, and then started playing guitar as a teenager and got into Van Halen and did that for a long time. And then I started in the Beatle tribute world in 2010, 11. Started as Ringo and then changed to Paul.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I've gotten to do some Fab Four gigs as Ringo. So it's been fun. But started doing Paul, and I only did Beatles for a really long time, and then I just wanted to venture out and do other stuff. So done Beatles, Beach Boys, Elvis, got a Tom Petty band coming up, the Monkey Men. I was in an Eagles tribute for a while. I was in the Beatles show at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas for 5 or 6 years. I'm playing with a No Doubt tribute coming up.
Oh, are you?
You're just not busy. You're just not busy enough, clearly. So how did you guys kind of you interact, you passed each other here and there, but then what shows have you played together? Have you guys played in anything besides the police together on stage?
So we met on a Beatles versus Stones show. Josh and Jon had played together, and I didn't meet them until early 2022. And I will not take any credit for forming this band, but I will say if there's anyone who would have launched into a police song during soundcheck, it's probably me. So,
nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I played Murdered by Numbers or When the World Is Running Down, and then these two would join. And I think that's at least the inception of the band in concept.
It kind of started as a joke. We were just kind of, between shows on a short run, and we're talking about, honestly, kind of complaining about a lot of the industry and the problems we have to deal with. And we were like, let's form our own band. And it just kind of spiraled from there. And I partially didn't think it was actually going to happen, but I'm glad it did. And now we can have our own problems within our own band and not have to blame anybody else.
Yeah, I can see where that would be. I would be interested, however much you want to touch on. Did you guys do original stuff? Was your intention? Are you still looking to do original things? Has kind of the tribute thing been, because it dominates so much time, it's kind of, well, this is just what we're doing now. It's just our thing. What were the issues, if you don't mind? You don't have to get too heavy if you don't want, but what were kind of the music industry issues that made you kind of say, let's just do our own thing?
I mean, for me personally, part of the issue was just how much bouncing around everybody seems to do. You're playing with this band one weekend, this band one weekend, and even if you're playing in the same band 2 weekends in a row, there might be different members because the industry is so incestuous. And especially all of us being kind of later to the game than most people we play with. We just had a different outlook on how things should be run and, how we wanted to approach doing a show. And we all kind of had very similar feelings in that regard. So as Jon said, starting our own tribute was like the first thing before even deciding on doing a police tribute. And then the police tribute just came from jamming along with each other and deciding, well, we wouldn't need anybody else. We can do it with just us three.
Right.
So,
yeah, doing a 3-piece trio kind of thing, it obviously does minimize the other influences of other players, of other factors. So it's it's kind of this or ZZ Top, I suppose. Sort of thing. You guys are pretty young. And so did you have kind of a personal connection to some of that stuff, or was it just kind of like, did you find the police musically, I'm sure you found it musically challenging, but was it just an appreciation for the music, or do you just like jam the music on your own and listen to the police regularly or semi-regularly?
Oh, it's in my DNA at this point. I was raised on it. So I'll thank my parents for raising me on all of this great music. And each tribute that I'm in now, I'm happy to say that it's all music that I grew up listening to. So it's in my blood at this point. I remember having Every Breath You Take, the singles on CD, and looking at the booklet and like smearing the food that I was eating when I was a kid on it. So it's like there's string cheese stains on a Police CD somewhere. Like, so I've been listening to it since I was in kindergarten.
That's high praise, I guess, as they would say. So yeah, same for you, Jon. Is it just kind of like, did you have any personal connection to some of these, or was it just one of those things where you went, no, I just think this is a marketable thing. Let's give it a shot.
Very similar. My parents raised me. They weren't a big fan of what my generation was listening to. So they're like, no, you're going to listen to our music. And I'm always thankful for that. Was raised on the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, and the Police I got introduced to at a very young age. And Stewart's a big idol of mine. And yeah, I mean, so it was one of those bands that always felt like, hey, that would be kind of fun to do, but man, you need to have great players in order to do that. You need to have a guy who can sing his ass off. And so again, the fact that what started as a joke actually came to fruition was pretty great, because right now it's, no offense to every other band I'm in, but this is kind of the most fun music that I'm currently playing.
Right.
But yeah, it's as far as music goes, I'm an old soul, so this fits right in.
I was a guest on another podcast in Nashville a couple months ago, and a guy asked me about he's asked me specifically about Police and like Rush types of tributes, 3-piece. And he goes, I don't see a lot of Sting, or I don't see a lot of Police, I don't see a lot of Rush tributes. And my theory was just, well, when it's only 3 guys, they all need to be super strong players because nobody can really hide, back there. Everybody's going to have their moment equally. It's a even distribution. 33% to each guy is going to get noticed, and you can't really half-ass it. So all 3 of you clearly are up to the task, just musically, technically. The Police show itself, Joshua, are you what's the thinking behind just kind of the show, the production? Obviously, you all 3 of you come from a world where the tribute is more than just a band. It's a show. It's a production. There's a lot to it. So what kind of thought went into the Police production itself?
I mean, we took a lot of influence from bands that we've played with. All 3 of us have had the chance to play with bands that have been around for a long time and know how the game is played, and have kind of paid their dues trying various things and seeing what works and what doesn't. So we got to benefit a lot from everybody else's experience. And we wanted to bring, like you said, a full show, not just 3 guys on stage playing, but Jon handles all our video production, and he's made tons of great videos that go along with the songs and line up and add so many elements, and stage props, police caution tape, and, sirens going off all over the stage and stuff like that. So we wanted it to be a high production show. And, we wanted to add more than even the Police kind of brought to the table. So like Christian plays piano on Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic and a few other songs, which is something they never did live. Jon's got his octobans, and I'm playing pan flute on Walking in Your Footsteps. And so, we wanted to add as much as we could to the show. And then also, give everybody a taste of what made the Police so great. You can play everything like the record and play what everybody's familiar with, but the Police was such a great live band, extending the songs, jamming, audience participation. And so we like to integrate that as well, so they get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think that's they are one of the bands you are free to deviate from the album track a little bit, because it's got a free flow kind of feel to it. There's a bit of jam element to it. And I think fans of the Police almost expect you to do it a little different from the album itself. So it gives you guys some freedom to kind of interject your own personality to it. I've seen some of the video from like Campus Jacks in Newport Beach and stuff like that. And great job, Jon, and all that stuff. I deal with all the video on our side of the things on our band. So I really, I appreciate the work that goes into it. Yeah, it's a shitload of work, but I will tell you that after shows, there is never not somebody going, man, I really loved all the video elements of what you guys did. It just takes your show to a whole different level. And so
once it's set up
gets...
and works, I love it. It's just I guess I have this massive drum set too. And then, okay, once that's done, now I have to go make sure my computer is going to function correctly and do all that kind of stuff. But,
all the tech crap.
Yeah.
So do you trigger everything? Do you kind of run everything, John, back there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, wearing gloves kind of prevents me from using like an iPad or anything. So luckily the laptop works out well. But yeah, it's just the way technology is built with free apps and stuff that the Macs come with now. It's pretty easy to just sort of trigger it back there and make it as seamless as possible.
Can we do you mind if we peel back that curtain a little bit? Because we are talking to other tribute bands, and one of the goals here is to help people go to the next levels of tribute. You know, maybe they're playing clubs and they're playing for, you know, maybe a little better than a bar band kind of thing, but they're still not at that next level. How do you build a song that's going to incorporate video? What do you, if you don't mind me asking, if you can give me a kind of an overview, what do you use to build the track? What do you use to build the video? How do you integrate it? Is it synced? Is there a click that's happening through the whole song? Is there a click that happens through the whole show? Are there cues? Can you kind of help explain how you put a song together?
Starts with Josh.
Yeah, I put our tracks together musically. So we do play to a click, but only really for the second half of the show. So the first half of the show, you know, we do it similar to some other tributes where it's chronological. So the first half of the show is much more early Police, much more raw. We don't play to a lot of clicks in the first half of the show. And the second half of the show, when we get to the later years of the band, the whole entire second set is on a click. So I put the tracks together along with the click, and then I send it to John, and he does everything else.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
and what do you? I'm sorry. No, go ahead, John.
Having that track kind of helps with the video and, you know, creating something that is visually striking and is going to make us look good, but it's not going to distract from us. I've done videos in other bands before, primarily my Stones band, where I realized that the audience is watching the video behind me more than they are actually us, which is great if we mess up in any way, but, you know, we're trying to not do that. But yeah, having the each video that I make is actually custom made to the track, which allows us to have synchronized video with the song. And it's always funny to me when people are like, "How'd you do that?" And it's like magic, but it's actually a lot easier than it seems. Just, you know, lining up with that click and knowing the song well enough to know when to have little spikes or something like that.
Right. And then what do you use to play back during the shows? Can I ask what like program you use, or are you just playing back a playlist off a laptop?
It's as simple as just using Keynote on my Mac. It's just the presentation tool. Okay. It's free. So.
And then just an HDMI cable out.
Yeah,
kind of
pretty
thing.
Much. And then audio as well. And yeah, it's very, very easy. Once everything's built and set up, then it's pretty straightforward.
Do you use any kind of verbal audio cues at all in your ears, or is it all just clicks, count offs and songs and clicks?
Josh there's a couple cues.
Yeah. He'll add a couple audio cues in there.
Yeah,
so many so many police songs have repetitive outros that go on for so long. So every once in a while, there's like a last time, and then we know when to end it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's talk about scheduling. I mean, you got the three of you are in a lot of acts. So somebody calls the Police Academy tribute for a show on, you know, September 15th, and one of you's in Chicago and one of you's in California and one of you's playing in Florida or whatever the case may be. I mean, how do you guys wrangle dates, and how often can you say yes to shows?
Yeah, boy, boy, we are pretty slammed, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, especially, you know, it's hard getting a band started. You know, anybody in this business knows that when you're brand new and you have no history with ticket draw, you know, places are a little reluctant to hire you. And so we're still in the beginning of the band, and so as we build up our reputation and we're getting more and more offers, it might be easier in the future. But for now, yeah, we have a band calendar. All three of us put in our schedules. And so we don't really have to ask each other, are you open this day? Are you open that day? We can just check the calendar. And some dates we're all open. Other dates, one of us is gone. Other dates, three of us are gone. But I think as time goes on and the band starts to roll and build, it'll get easier for us to book our gigs, knowing that we have gigs coming.
Right. It seems like, again, a bigger band, you can sub in, you can sub out a player, maybe two. With yours, that certainly seems like that would be a very big challenge and probably not even worth pursuing. I would think if one of you is not available, you got to say no to the date. Is that most likely the case?
Yeah.
That's what it is right now. Yeah. I mean, especially with the separate jobs that we all do, subbing someone out right now would be pretty difficult for this particular band.
Joshua, I know you recently moved to California. Christian, you are in Southern California?
I am, yeah.
John, you as well?
Yep.
Okay, great. So you guys obviously can get together. You got together to work everything up. The show itself, is it fleshed out to what's like a prime set for you guys? Is it about a 90 straight through? Is that kind of what you shoot for?
We take a break for a costume change to have like an early look and a later look. Give Josh's voice a rest too. Probably give John a rest too. I'm sure it's a taxing. It's probably as taxing as playing Keith Moon, huh?
A little bit. Yeah. I know. I mean, it's also just sort of allows us to create more of a show as far as like what Josh was saying, how our first set's a little earlier stuff, second set's a little bit later, and we change wardrobe to kind of go with it. So I mean, we can do a 90, but the show we've been doing primarily has been like 45-minute sets, something like that.
About that, okay. Yeah. We have, in total, the music's about an hour and 25 minutes, and then 10 to 15-minute intermission, and then all the talking bits and everything in between. So it does push to an hour and 45, almost a 2-hour show, but, we could whittle it down, to 75 minutes if we had to.
We could also add more if we needed to as well.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you do any solo Sting kind of stuff, or not at this time? Maybe down the road, or that's not really going to be an option?
I don't think that's. We had that discussion very early on. That was one of the first questions we asked ourselves: was, are we going to have subs, and are we going to do Sting stuff? And we all agreed, no Sting stuff, no subs. The Sting stuff is great. I'm a huge Sting fan, but it doesn't really gel with the Police. Something about as soon as Sting left the Police and started doing his solo stuff, he went down such a completely different avenue that it just doesn't feel right. Yeah.
I think it's better to, rather than, and I've mentioned this to multiple bands, rather than try to be all things to all people, and then it kind of waters down the overall act. It's better to stick with one specific thing. If you're a Van Halen tribute, usually they say we're either David Lee Roth or we're Sammy Hagar. We try not to do both. Yeah. And so, you stick to what's going to work. So I fully appreciate it. So why don't we take a look at some video of the Police Academy, and then we will come back and we will talk some more with Christian, Joshua, and John. The Police Academy, everybody, take a watch. that is the Police Academy, everybody. So when you get a chance, please check them out when they come towards you. The schedules and the calendars work out. They're going to find some more gigs and play together. And we're going to get around the country, and you can all check them out because these are three powerhouse musicians doing some of my favorite music. I know what I wanted to ask you guys. Because of the demand, it's three players playing all this stuff. Was there a learning curve? So like I was joking about Murder by Numbers. Was that a song that Jon, you had to kind of ramp up to? Or were you like, no, I got this, no problem? Did you all just have it? Or did you have to, like some songs were like, God, this is kicking my ass?
It took, that song in particular took a couple tries. My biggest problem was like, listening to it is one thing, but I want to see, it'd be nice to have like a visual and trying to look up charts. And I quickly realized that even the charts I found online were incorrect as far as the timing, as far as what the part was. So, but luckily, it didn't take too long, but luckily the three of us were able to kind of figure it out in rehearsals. We haven't really had any major issues. Spirits in the Material World is I'm just going to combine those two songs because they both are too much. But it seems like those are the ones where even on stage we're kind of like not teetering towards failure, but it certainly seems like those are the songs where if it's going to mess up, those are the ones.
It's not art unless it has the chance that the wheels could fall off at any moment. That's how you know you're doing the right.
And if we mess up, it's just jazz.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, mess up once, it's a mistake. Mess up twice, it's jazz. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's and then things like you said, you do your show kind of chronologically. So I imagine early on, first set, you're going to hear Roxanne, which is just super. It's just a vibe. There's not. That's not a click. You just follow Sting's lead on that one, kind of thing. And so that one, at least you're following each other, probably most likely. And when you do your songs, are you watching live? I know you're incorporating here and there. So how do you decide how you're going to play a song? Or do you get the basic structure and then you guys have a little bit of fun with it?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the song. Some songs really lend themselves well to expansion. So like when we first started, Christian suggested that we do the live version of Can't Stand Losing You, which they do the entirety of Regatta de Blanc in the middle of it. And there's a whole audience sing-along section. So it ends up being, 7 minutes long. But there's so much in there that's entertaining. You're getting the audience involved. Versus like with Roxanne's such a popular song. And they did expand it live, but it was much more of just kind of a free form jam that didn't offer very much. So like Roxanne is something we keep fairly close to the studio version with maybe a little live flourishes. But some of the other stuff
you start with the wrong chord?
the piano butt chord. So
that's my job.
The little laugh that happens right there before they're in it.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, that weird sounding chord at the beginning of Roxanne, while they were tracking the song in the studio, Sting sat down on the piano and made that chord. And
now that I didn't know. That's how it happened. Yeah. That's funny.
So, and Sting is actually credited on the album playing butt piano.
Love that. I love it. The look, the style, I know you got kind of the outfits going. You kind of work on you got wigs, you got hair, you're going with the full look. Obviously being in all the other tributes you're used to that whole world. Is this all stuff you guys are putting together yourself? Is it just the three of you? Is there any fourth person that's kind of behind the scenes on this, or is it the three of you that are doing all of this?
So far, it's been the three of us. We've had input from the respective females in our lives to make some tweaks here and there. But yeah, it's been all us. Maybe we should hire somebody.
It's also funny how when we started, we were like, let's start a tribute band where we don't have to wear wigs, no makeup, wardrobe. And we quickly realized
yeah, they're all blonde. Yeah. And as far as I can tell, none of you are blonde, essentially. So.
Yeah, Christian's right.
3 non-blondes.
The input we've gotten was from girlfriends and stuff who know what they're doing and had to kind of show us what to do. So,
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, again, this is a thing where you guys are playing music from, you know, kind of a generation before you, certainly in the other bands, but the Police too now. I mean, they're going on 40 years old, essentially, you know. And so you guys were kids when the music was happening. And maybe you weren't even born in 84, 85, 86. I don't even want to go there. I mean, I was graduating high school in 1984. So you know what? Screw all you guys. We're done. Yeah. No, but you know what? That's great though, because actually this is a really cool aspect, because tribute bands have been a thing for a good 20 years, which means you kind of really have only grown up where tribute bands were kind of a viable, marketable, money-making option. So what is your general view, Joshua, of tributes as the viable means of an income, of making money, or expressing yourself, versus original, versus, you know, other types of bands? What do you think about this on that level?
That's a big question.
We got time.
I mean, and I think all of us, we got into tribute bands accidentally. I do have some friends who wanted to do the tribute band thing, especially in the Beatle tribute world. I play with some people who that was their goal. They wanted to do tributes even since they were a kid. But all of us kind of fell into it, you know, randomly because somebody else said, "Oh, have you ever thought about doing this?" And the tribute world just sucks you right in, you know, especially coming from original music, which is where I came from, where, you know, you're lucky to get 20, 30 people in the audience and you're lucky to make $50. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, you can make really good money. You can have tons of people in attendance who are giving you the rock star treatment, singing along with you. And okay, you got to throw on a wig and a costume and you got to pretend to be somebody else. But at least for me, that aspect of the tribute world was really interesting. Okay, there's acting involved, you know. I mean, getting up there and being yourself is great too, but having this whole other aspect of acting and how to actually run a show is what really drew me into doing the tribute thing.
Christian, what about you? I mean, you're pretty young too. So what's your view on just the tribute as the primary gig, being in a tribute band?
I'm still in the honeymoon period here. I'm having a blast because I've only been doing this for about 2.5 years, and it went from 1 band to 8 bands in the span of 18 months or so. What's the most fun for me is that if I could go back in time and tell 15-year-old Christian that I got to play this music and get paid for it, he'd freak out. So this is an absolute dream come true. And I'm trying not to be too greedy because I'd love to be in a Steely Dan tribute, a Cream Clapton tribute, a Rage Against Machine tribute. I'd do it all. So I'm having so much fun.
That's awesome. Jon, what's your thoughts on that, just that whole thing in general?
I mean, I've talked to musicians who are very anti-tributes, and usually it's because they're unemployed and don't work much in music. The way I see it is whether it's, I've done original bands and I've played for other original people and or people who do original stuff, and yeah, I would make $50 here and there, $100, and I mean, I got to play an original band at Carnegie Hall, which was awesome, but I mean, I made $50 that night, so it's the fact that, yeah, I've got to wear a wig, I got to put makeup on and do all this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm making a living playing drums, which is my ultimate goal. So I don't see any downside to it, and not to mention that I much prefer playing classic rock stuff that I love listening to and grew up listening to, rather than a lot of the stuff that's out today. Unless they want to pay me a lot of money, then I'll do it. But no, it's like Josh said, is you get to play these amazing venues all around. You get treated like a rock star, and you didn't even have to write any of it. It's almost cheating. except you still have to be a skilled musician in order to pull it off.
Yeah, I would say cheating, except you pick the Police, which you can't cheat on the Police. That's a really good take on it. I've been asked that a couple times about, being a tribute. Is it creatively satisfying? Is it scratching that itch? And I look at it as, if I was a songwriter, if I was a composer, and I had in me these things that I needed to get out, I would probably feel more in the camp of, I'm not wasting my time with a tribute. Personally, I don't have that in me. I think I've written one song in my life that could pass as an actual song. So I am a performer. I am an entertainer. So I found an outlet that worked, that's bringing a lot of joy to a lot of people. You're picking artists. You guys are all, Christian, I know you'll be in every band that'll have you, from, Cream to Rage. And that's a nice big spread there, because you probably have inside you, it's like, I want to play that classic stuff, but I want to play just some shredding, hard, angry vibe stuff too. And I think if you come at it from the aspect of that performance, getting out of it the performance side, the kind of being treated a little bit like a rock star for 48 hours or whatever, it is satisfying. I find it very fulfilling. And my years of trying to make it on my own as an original are long past. So this is a great outlet. I think you guys are doing it, especially with all the other bands you're in. And then I know this one is reasonably new, but the quality is obviously there. You guys are putting into it what you put into all the other bands. You've got quite the track record of how to do it right. I don't see any downside on the tribute side. I think it's still, I don't know if it's fully peaked. I think if it's anything, it's at the apex at this point. Maybe it starts to trend downward. What do you think, John?
Well, I feel like you can still get your creative side out. I'm in a similar boat. I've never written a song. I've helped others kind of do it a little bit here and there, but I still have to use my creativity when it comes to doing the tribute stuff, whether it's trying to interpret the part or like which versions to do, or coming up with extracurricular stuff like the video or building websites or like promoting out there. I mean, the only non-creative part is the actual songs that you're playing, because they're already pre-written. But otherwise, you still have to come up with all these different aspects of how to get this band to gel and work and sell. So, whatever itch I may have as far as creativity is more than satisfied, because I've got enough on my plate to kind of pull this off and make sure it works.
Christian, you had something you looked like you wanted to jump in.
Well,
there.
Now that you mentioned the creativity, so I have done original music. I've put out 4 albums of totally instrumental original stuff, and you can hear my influences on it. There's a song I did called "The Sound and the Fury" that has Andy Summers written all over it. It's almost kind of stealing. What I was going to say is, I'm not jaded enough to the point where I can't look at it from the consumer side, because I still go to tribute shows and have a blast. And sometimes it's easier to get to them than it is to go see the real bands. So I can go see Jumping Jack Flash for a fifth of the price to see the Rolling Stones.
Maybe a 500th of the price.
When I go see Led Zeppelin and Queen Nation, and I've seen No Duh a couple of times, and I saw Wild Child as a fan even before I met any of those guys in the band. I still enjoy myself when I go to these shows, and it inspires me as a player. So to be on the other side and be the one on the stage creating the music for the built-in audience, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. It's a community. I'll kind of liken it to, I suppose there's a nerd aspect to it, but there's a cosplay aspect to this industry, where it's kind of like, everybody's kind of got their character maybe in a way. I mean, the Kiss guys, they go way over the top, but you kind of fall into that community, and it's an interesting community of folks. It's a very supportive community of folks. And Christian, you hit it. I mean, I love to go see great tribute bands. I've always loved impersonators. As a kid, I love people who can do voices. I love people who can take on a whole other character and go, man, you close your eyes, that guy sounds just like, whoever. The Elvis impersonators, the Beatles tributes way back when I was a kid, Beatlemania and Rain were like unbelievable. They were Broadway shows. To your point, John, you may be doing other people's music, but that's how Broadway's put together. I mean, when somebody's doing Oklahoma, that's not original. It's been going forever, but they're putting their production together. You guys are creating a production now out of this. And I really, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. So Christian, you mentioned a few. Joshua, do you have any, besides your own bands, do you have any favorites of tributes that you think are really doing it out there? Or John, you guys have any thoughts on bands that you really kind of think are really killing it?
I mean, for me personally, the Fab Four is the gold standard as far as how far you can take a tribute if you do things correctly. They really nailed down the aspect of, like, regardless of what songs you're playing, the show itself and how you use the show to connect with an audience. 'Cause they've been doing the same show for 20 plus years, and it's still just as effective. And that's what really got me about the tribute thing in general, is the same band can do the same show and people don't get tired of it. You have people who go and they know all the jokes. You can see people in the crowd saying the jokes along with the band. They know what punchline is coming and they still laugh and they still love it. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is watching a band like the Fab Four or Queen Nation that really connects with their audience, and that the audience doesn't just love the tribute itself, but they love the people that are portraying the tribute. You have people who are fans of, the individual person rather than just, oh, he's a Paul McCartney impersonator. They like the person themselves. And I really love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was super impressed. I happened to see Fab Four just a few days after recording the episode with Ron and Gavin, and saw, because they happened to be playing in my backyard. So I went and saw the show for the first time live, 100%. And the fans there, you're absolutely right. They know the show, and when you say, man, they even kind of know the jokes and the bits in between. Some people might hear that and think, well, that's kind of hacky, or, they're never freshening it up. But you got to remember, those people probably told somebody and brought somebody. And if they're like, oh, they're going to love this part, and then they don't do it, there's a little bit of that, oh, they didn't do the joke, they didn't do the bit, they didn't do that transition or whatever. There is an element of, you want some consistency, and yeah, they've created quite an industry. And like I said, you guys have definitely got the resume and the track record of some amazing bands. Like I said, Wild Child has been one of those, been going for a long, long time as well. And I have not had a chance to see them, but they're one of those. Led Zeppelin's another one. I'm definitely trying to get to go see them. When I'm playing, they're playing, so it gets a little tougher too. But I want to make sure and remind everybody again, we're talking to Christian, Joshua, and John from the Police Academy Tribute, and you'll find them at thepoliceacademytribute.com, iwantmytpa.com, and the social media is all at the Police Academy Tribute. And so we want to thank you guys for being on. You got some shows coming up. We're right at the end of April. What's happening in May, June? What's happening for you guys coming up?
We are back at Campus Jacks, which is where it all started for us.
Nice.
We will be there the day before Memorial Day, so that's Sunday, May 26th, and it's an earlier show, even though not a lot of people have work the next day. So it will start at, I believe, 6 p.m. or 6:30. No opener. It'll be just us, and I think we have some surprises for this show, too.
All right. I know I am not booked that date, so I am planning to be at Campus Jacks on May 26th. We played there a couple years ago. Love that place. Cool supper club vibe place. Love that place. So good on Campus Jacks for having you guys back. And then, not to reveal too much, but we are trying. The Police Academy and my tribute band, The Heart of Rock and Roll, Huey Lewis and the News, are trying to put something together for October in Southern California, San Diego area. Hopefully we will make that happen and have an announcement. Adam Shapiro, who does the Billy Joel tribute, Billy Nation, and Joshua and I are trying to wrangle this thing and put it together. So we're hoping to announce a show with us and the Police Academy tribute. So hopefully we'll make that happen, guys. Thanks for being on. Anything else? Is there anything I want to mention, or do we cover it all, you guys? What do you think?
if you come to one of our shows, you're not just going to see a musical show, but you'll see us throwing fists at each other and arguing just like the real band. So it's like half a WWE pay-per-view.
Yeah, we're pretty method when it comes to that.
Yeah, we didn't touch on the interpersonal dynamics of the three players in the Police, but just Jon has to be like, I'm up for doing this anytime, and then everybody else is like, no, we don't want to do this thing. And
Josh and I have to
like
butt heads all the time, and
Christian, Joshua, Jon, thanks for being on, guys. Once again, it's thepoliceacademytribute.com is where you're going to find them, and then social media, it's at the Police Academy Tribute. Thanks, guys, once again for being on. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you for having us, Ryan.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Ultimate Tribute Band podcast. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We hope that you will subscribe, send me some comments, send me some bands you think are worth bringing onto the show anywhere around the country, anywhere around the world. We want to talk to them. So we'll see you again next week. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.